Fulham make £20 million bid for Palace defender Anderson. Joachim Andersen looks like he might be potentially joining Fulham. The Eagles value the 28-year-old Denmark defender who joined Palace from Lyon for about 20 million. They value him at 40 million. Very interesting. So Fulham are quite a way off, Crystal Palace's valuation of him. But yeah, that's what I thought. Joachim Andersen did spend a season on loan at Fulham from Lyon. So I do remember him playing for Fulham. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. A player who I really like. I think he's a very good player. Um, a player like Joachim Andersen, to me, he's the sort of player that really demonstrates the quality that we've got in the Premier League at the moment. Because he's a defender who can more or less do it all. Obviously, he's not an elite defender, but if you need a defender who can play it out the back, play those passes, decent physical presence, like I said, can play on the ball, can play it out, comfortable with the ball, comfortable off the ball. You wouldn't typically associate that caliber of player at a team like Crystal Palace, but like I said, it kind of goes to show the level that we've got in the Premier League, that a player as talented as Anderson, he's not even at a big six side. Like I said, he was at Lyon in France. Lyon's one of France's top teams, and he goes from a top team in France to a lower middle table team in the Premier League. So that goes to show you the levels. But yeah, for me, I really became more familiar with him at Fulham, where he didn't have an amazing time at Fulham, but that Fulham team was a bit chaotic. It was a very attacking team who very often threw caution to the wind and were on the other end, on the wrong end of a number of bad results, and he really got exposed defensively a lot at Fulham because he really just didn't have that sort of protection in front of him. They didn't have that protection in midfield that's still in midfield, but in terms of wider tactical strategy, they didn't even have that sort of organisation. It was really a free-for-all that season at Fulham, and that culminated in a relegation for them. So the season ends, he goes back to Lyon, and then obviously Palace buy him from Lyon, and they sort of take that risk on him. They see, they saw what we all kind of saw from him, a player that can play on the ball, a bit of physical presence, but he's a player who's comfortable with the ball at his feet. And then you kind of get that perfect marriage at Crystal Palace, where Crystal Palace, historically, they're known for that sort of defensive skill and that organisation. But they want to try and transition to a team that's playing, a bit better football. Maybe that's a conversation for another time, whether teams often can get too big for their boots and then that ultimately is their demise. But that's probably a conversation for another time. But we saw him ultimately do pretty good at Crystal Palace for the most part, to be fair. Can't take much away from him. Crystal Palace this past season had a very good season, and he was definitely a part of that. I think it's probably just a matter of money, to be honest. Crystal Palace want 40 million, Fulham are only trying to pay 20 million. So it's a bit of negotiations needed there. Maybe they can meet, maybe they can do a black-eyed peas and meet halfway at 30 mil. But who's to say at this point? It's still early days. That being said, the transfer window, it will be coming to an end soon. I say soon. Good couple of weeks, but time flies when you're having fun. So they'll need to be making a move quickly, because once the season starts, ideally, all teams want to get transfers done before the season starts. Of course they do, because then you can have a bit of time in pre-season, get the players familiar with each other, rather than signing them right before the season starts and you're sort of thrown into the deep end, particularly if you're spending 30, 40 million pounds on a defender. You want to get him in and you want him to be playing. You don't want him to be, sitting on the bench for a month getting used to things. But I suppose if you sign him, you put him in a 5-year deal, you're in less of a rush. But I'd be interested to see, do you think Joachim Andersen will be a good fit for Fulham if he rejoins them? Obviously, that Fulham team's changed quite a bit since he was last there, but would be very interested to know what you guys think of that move. Let me know if you think he should stay at Crystal Palace, or do you think going to Fulham's a good move, or do you think he'd be better suited at a different team? Be super curious to know what you guys think of that. Let me know.